Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGen Ed. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts like the chart behind me, which is of Tesla, ticker symbol TSLA. And so here I am recording this on Wednesday, October 23rd in the evening after Tesla closed at a price of $213.65, being down about 2% on the day. But as you probably know, they reported earnings this evening and they went up over 12% in the after hours, closing the after hours trading session at $239.50. So looking really good there. And so in this video, I just wanted to go over the chart. I actually went over it on Tuesday evening during Ticker Request Live, a stream that I do typically on Sundays. And yeah, this was requested, so I went over it. I drew a trend line that, kind of gave it away that we were going to be seeing a bounce, but the close today made it seem a little iffy. But anyways, yeah, I'm just going to get into those levels, throw them up here. And before I do that, if you do enjoy this video, please let me know in the comments because my Tesla videos don't tend to perform that well, but I do like talking about this stock. And so what we can see here is this light blue uptrend, and we closed below it today. So, it didn't really look that good, but we had only one close below it. And one might assume, as I was hoping that this was going to be a fake out break below that level and we actually move higher. And that is exactly what we saw, noting this blue dashed line here, which was a gap from October 10th when Tesla hosted the Robo-Taxi event. That was somewhat of a letdown as far as the stock goes. And we saw, let's see, on the 11th, a almost 9% down move on the day, creating this gap here. And so that gap is at $238.77. And so if I do switch over to the 1 hour chart, we can see that price went up to fill that gap. So pretty remarkable. We hit a high during after hours trading of $240.35. Currently, like I said, at $239.50. So looking really, really good there. So just like we saw this gap down here, we tomorrow are going to be seeing a gap up here. And I suspect the stock could be going a lot higher. But first, before I get into where I think the stock price will be going, perhaps over the course of the next year or two, I think, there's a lot of upside potential for it. Perhaps it, gets to the mark a little bit sooner than that, though. But anyways, I wanted to talk about this uptrend and where price came to, why I think this was, a fake out break. And there are actually multiple levels that did suggest this could be a bottom. And so I'm just going to take a step back so we can see where that line originates from. And so, yeah, I drew this last night. So on Tuesday, based on these two pivot points that you can see here, one being the low from April 22nd, that was at a price of $138.80. And then the other pivot point being this low here from August 5th, and that was at a price of $182.00. So a very nice little bottom there before we got this bounce. And something else that you might notice, aside from, this trend line intersecting with that pivot low, is I have this Fibonacci retracement up here, and that is drawn from that exact same low from April 22nd, but then going up to this high here, that was hit on July 11th, so 7/11, we hit a high of $271. And so from that retracement, we can see the golden pocket here. That is the 618 down to the 65% retracement levels, referred to as the golden pocket. And that is exactly where we dip to, pulling back to form this trend line. And so thinking about that, we can do the exact same kind of retracement going from the low of August 5th up to the recent high that was hit on September 30th, which was at a price of $264.86, being slightly lower than the high from over here of $271. And so if I draw that Fibonacci to that high there, you probably already saw it there while I was talking, but we got the golden pocket here. and price had pulled back to that level, not only coming back to that golden pocket, but also that trend line getting a fake out break below. We had arrived at support prior to earnings, and now we see that launch. So, looking really good, looking really great there. And something else that I did want to point out, I used to go over this in more videos, but it didn't always seem to play out that well. But I do think it is a good factor to keep in mind. And so as we can see up here with these two highs, this double top, we can see that we formed a lower high. And so if we look at the RSI, which is down here, if the RSI was making a higher high, which we cannot see, we see that there is a lower high here in the RSI. So there is no divergence. But if we were to see a higher high in the RSI corresponding with this lower high in the stock price, that would be hidden bearish divergence, and that would suggest a downside move. But we did not see that. We saw no divergence with respect to the RSI, and price has pulled back to multiple technical levels, and we have now filled this gap, assuming that we open above or trade above $238.77. That gap is now filled. But with that being said, and this pattern not being a bearish one, even though it was followed by, let's see, a 20% downside move, almost 20% to the downside. I think that since we have pulled back to not only the same retracement that we bounced from here, and from that low, what percentage do we get to the upside? 43% to the upside. So I think we could be seeing a very nice bounce. Something else that you might notice with the chart is this big purple line. If I do take a step back, we can see what might stand out to you as an inverse head and shoulders pattern. And so with that, you got this left shoulder here, inverse left shoulder here, coming up to that neckline, with it being just approximate right around $267.73, or let's say $266, right around there. And then, from there, it pulls down to this blue line, which was $144.43, and that actually corresponds with a gap from the past that I think is really, really cool. This was the closing price from January 25th of 2023. The closing price was $144.43, had a gap there that needed to be filled. And, we did fill that on April 22nd, got that low of $138.80. forming the peak of this inverse head. And, I think that because this is big picture forming a bullish pattern, I think it's really good that we had, this very sharp peak to the head, because if we take a measurement, which I'll go over with you in just a second, that will imply a larger move to the upside. So I think that is just, really great. But then following that pullback to that neckline, got rejected, came back down on August 5th when the markets were gapping down. Tesla did as well. That is when we formed that bottom, forming that uptrend, hitting that low of $182 to form the peak of that right inverse shoulder, coming back to that neckline, but then getting rejected. And so, with that being said, it is a little bit surprising that it has pulled back so much, but, I think this is actually just a really, really bullish setup, because bigger picture, we've got an inverse head and shoulders pattern. We've been respecting multiple technical levels, and, we're now going to be gapping up following earnings. I think that we're definitely going to be heading back to right around $267, or let's have fun with it, $269. And, I think that we will be going beyond that as well. And so that is based on a measured move that I was talking about. And so I actually already did it. I'm just going to drag it over to here so you see how I would draw it. So that is, I'll just actually draw it so you can see how I draw it. Going from the low over here, I'm just going to take this measurement tool and just draw a line going straight up to that neckline, That represents about a $129 move to the upside. And then I am now going to move that to where we might be breaking that neckline. And so what I could see is, this coming up here to that gap now, where I do think it will be trading above that tomorrow on October 24th, then making its way up to this neckline. And maybe, let's see, I could see it getting up there sooner than that by the end of the year, maybe corresponding with a Santa Claus rally, getting up to that neckline. We could be breaking out from here and then going up to where that measured move would take us, and that is right around $400 a share, $398.19, but that is of course just an approximate measurement. And so yeah, I mean, I could see the stock price of Tesla going up to $400 a share, maybe again, have fun with it, $420.69, maybe over the course of the next 1 to 2 years. So I think that looks just really, really good. And another thing that I would like to do, I guess I should also mention this yellow downtrend, is based on these two pivot points over here. So the highs from September 15th of 2023, as well as the high from December 28th of 2023. That is how we get that downtrend. We are currently below it, so we are currently above it, considering that we gapped above it. So, while that might have been a precarious level over here, we did get above it, but then broke below, got above it, broke below again. We don't have to deal with it anymore. We are trading above it, so I think that looks good. But I did want to go over this white uptrend because I think that might be significant, and we might be able to also draw a line like that could suggest $400 at some time in the future. So I did want to go over that, but I am going to switch over to the weekly time frame to go over that one. And here we can see these pivot points go back to this one, the low from March of 2020. That was a pretty big low across the market. And that is that initial pivot point with Tesla being at a price of $23.37. For the week ending on March 20th of 2020, and then the other pivot low being from January 6th of 2023. And so that is how we get that trend line. And now, I am wondering, we've got this prior high up here at $414.50. Maybe that is a good target for us to be keeping in mind. And so let's see, I might color that one. I'll do that one orange. Actually, I'll do it red, Tesla red. And, I'll make that thicker. And I think Tesla might be a little bit brighter than that. So I'll do it like that. And that is where I could see price going to. But maybe there are some other trend lines that we could draw that would intersect with that. But let's just think about it right here with this intersection of that uptrend that I had gone over earlier, that light blue one, and that red line. That is going to be an intersection of February 24th, 2026. So, it might be at least a year before we potentially get up to $414.50, or maybe we eclipse it, get to $420.69, and that might be, a short-term top before a pullback and maybe a continuation higher. I think that the chart's looking really good, and looking at this more recent price action, I just think it's super cool that we did find support at this trend line, also corresponding with this golden pocket, which I did not realize until preparing for this video. I was curious about that, so I think that's super cool. And also, this golden pocket here, and this is actually where I established my position. It's a very small one, but I still am proud to hold some Tesla. And I actually picked up my position here because I saw this golden pocket. I thought it might be pulling back to there, and because I had initially bought the dip here at, I believe, $145 when this gap was filled, but I didn't hold for, the long term. I sold at maybe 10, 20% profit, and I regretted that. So I was glad to buy the dip at this technical level, and it looks like we just saw another dip buy at a technical level prior to the close on October 23rd, as on the 24th, we're going to be seeing price above $238.77 and likely getting back up to around $269.420. Something like that. But, anyways, those are just my thoughts. If you found them helpful, make sure you like the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Take care.